Welcome in to another edition of Rambling with Rhino. Well, small podcast. A lot of stuff going on. We got, football's in full swing, but now baseball's in the postseason. Basketball's about to get fired up, and hockey just kicked off, and a lot of other crazy things going on in the world. We'll start with my favorite, I guess, which is football and college football. That is, and Alabama. I guess less than impressive win against Texas A&M. I thought this past week would have been the letdown week. You can't get up every week, and score 40 and beat teams by 28 every single week. It just doesn't happen in college football, and that was the week. Never in doubt for Alabama. Texas A&M made it close toward the end, but Alabama remains undefeated and number one or 1B with Clemson, who was less than impressive as well. I mean, they won by 14 against Wake Forest, but it was a sluggish game. Kelly Bryant went down. The backups came in, played decently, but it is what it is. It's the middle of the season stretch. Clemson plays Friday night at Syracuse. They should pound them. We'll see how they react to a Friday night football game versus a Saturday morning, but I think they'll be okay. Penn State handles their business. The biggest surprise, I guess, of the weekend is Oklahoma losing to Iowa State. Oklahoma was set up pretty good to lock themselves into a Final Four bid, or at least share with TCU until they play each other. So now Oklahoma's knocked off a pedestal there, and back a few spots, Michigan, who set up well. If they could beat Ohio State and win the Big Ten, they could get in there, but they lose to Michigan State. So terrible game and bad weather, but they only scored 10 points. And I know they had a backup quarterback, but there's been a lot of hype, a lot of publicity over the years from Michigan since Harbaugh's got there, and Harbaugh's got the same record as Brady Hoke, and he hadn't beat Ohio State or Michigan State. So I'm not sure. It's good as far as a booster club and money coming in and sponsorship and notoriety, but actually winning on the field, he's no better than what he replaced. So Georgia keeps on rolling. They look like they're going to lock themselves into a meeting with Alabama in the SEC championship. And even if they lose that game, they can still get that fourth spot. Everybody's talking about Auburn. Yeah, Auburn has looked better since they played Clemson, but they hadn't played a defense as good as Clemson's. Georgia's is close. So, Stidham's look good against these average defenses. But, Georgia will bring the pain to him. And Petway's ran well, but, Georgia's a more complete team than anybody that Auburn's played so far since Clemson. So, I think they'll move themselves up until they play that game, and then they'll lose to Georgia and they'll lose to Alabama. Nothing really notable outside of that. Locally, South Carolina gets a big win. Defense shows up, scores 3 times. A lot of momentum. Offense was okay. They did hit some big balls to Hayden Hurst and Brian Edwards, and the Smith boys are doing their thing. And still haven't got the running game going consistently. Offensive line still hurt. Should go into Knoxville and should be able to handle their business if they don't make mistakes and play how they have been playing. The defense has played well, kind of a bend but don't break like they played the last few years. So they should get another win there, and then you're one win away from bowl eligibility. Then you can go from there and get that goal underway, and then try to win 7 or 8. And Georgia, I don't think there's a chance. Florida, there is a chance to beat Florida. Vanderbilt, Wofford, and then, of course, they finish with Clemson, and you know how that's probably going to go. But NFL, crazy. There's no consistency. I don't know if it's parity or is it just teams aren't as good. You got teams like the Steelers getting blown out by the Jaguars. I didn't expect that at all. You got teams like the Panthers, beating the Patriots at home or on the road at the Patriots home, and Detroit on the road, and they look like they was on the downslide. But now they looking good. You got the Eagles looking good. You never know what you're gonna get out of teams like the Broncos. Maybe the NFC West is wide open. The Seahawks got to win over the Rams. They can win that division. The Texans look really good. Even in a loss, Deshaun Watson throws 5 touchdowns. Houston Texans look good. Kansas City is right now head and shoulders above anybody else on both sides of the ball and have playmakers. Green Bay's, I guess, in that conversation along with Aaron Rodgers is healthy. Other than that, we'll see. It's still early. Teams are winning, then teams are losing, looking real bad one week. Like the Ravens have looked bad a couple weeks, and then they beat the Raiders. Of course, the Raiders got injuries, and the Broncos look bad and good and bad. So it's still kind of wide open. The Cardinals go out and get Adrian Peterson to try to find their way back into the NFC West. We'll see how that goes. But right now it's the Chiefs and everybody else. Switch over to baseball. Boston Red Sox fired John Farrell today. John Farrell was on the staff that won the championship in 2007, was on the staff, or was the manager when they won their last championship. I think it was 2012, 12 or 13. He's a manager. He won 90-something games this year, won the division, and lost in the first round to the Astros. But, what more can you do? Astros are pretty solid. It's not like he lost to, I don't know, the Brewers or somebody. I guess that's the way it is. What have you done for me lately? Those championships, 5 years later don't really mean a whole lot. Still got a lot of games left to play. The Indians and the Yankees play today. The winner moves on. That's going to be a tough one. Corey Kluber, you got to give the Indians the edge there. Dodgers swept the Diamondbacks, which, they had potential to do that, but they also have potential to blow up. So we'll see how they fare. The winner of the Cubs Nationals who play today. Cubs got to have the advantage there at home with Arrieta. So they'll probably go to a Game 5. And then, Houston's just waiting to see. Houston and Cleveland will be a real good series. A lot of good pitching, a lot of good hitting. That could be one of the best series in some time. Basketball. So the 76ers give Joel Embiid a supermax contract, meaning, the maximum he could get in the 30s of millions of dollars a year for, I think, 5 years. This guy missed the first 2 seasons injured and played 30-something games last year. Had a good year, but in 3 years he's played 30-something games, and you give him a supermax contract. I don't know what you do. They throw around money in the NBA like crazy. But, can you give a guy who's only played 30 games in 3 years, basically 10 games a year, you can get that guy a supermax contract and wonder why you're in the shape you're in? If he goes down, that's such a chunk of your salary cap. And you got guys like Ben Simmons who are unproven still on the roster. We'll see how that goes. I think it's a bad move. But, maybe that's what you got to do in this day's market to keep guys. I think it's the Warriors and everybody else in basketball. I'll talk more about this as the season gets closer. But, OKC is going to be good. OKC, Houston, San Antonio, they'll be fighting for second, third, fourth in the West. But nobody's as good as what the Warriors are. And they didn't really have to add a lot of pieces to get there. The East will be interesting with the Celtics and the Cavaliers. Who knows? We'll see what happens when Isaiah Thomas gets healthy and the Cavaliers get going full strength. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot left in sports. I'll preview college and NFL coming up, but the Jamel Hill thing with ESPN or any of that, it's an interesting thing. You can have a freedom of speech, but you can't when you're dealing with sponsors. It's kind of crazy. I work for a beer company. If I went and told people to stop buying, I don't know, from wheat farmers that we make our beer from, it hurts them and in turn hurts us. It's a trickle-down effect. And for her to not realize the damaging effects to her business, you're not immune, or you don't get a pardon for things you say in direction to your employer, and they have the right to suspend her or fire her or do whatever they want to do. And so does any employer. I don't see where, football and athletes, they do make a lot of money, but they're not immune to the same laws and restrictions that anybody else is that's employed, by a company. So it's stupid. You can keep pushing those buttons, and there's nothing you can do. You can call the ACLU or whoever you want to call, but at the end of the day, you work for the employer, and they're the one who pays your salary. So if you don't abide by the rules, you get suspended and then fired. If she don't want to go by the rules, take a shot at being a freelance reporter. Open your own website. Try to sell your content to somebody there. It's not going to happen. You're not good enough, and you can't. Nobody's going to pay you to read your blog or vlog or your YouTube channel. So, sometimes you just got to scale it back. You're not Rosa Parks. The game's changed. So that's all I got on that. I'll give you a college football preview tomorrow, probably NFL preview on Friday. Thanks for listening, guys.